everyone. Welcome to our live lecture session of Swamprabha channel. I am Riya Pramanik. We are continuing with our subject BPSC 143, that is state politics in India. So we are continuing with our block 2, that is federalism. In this block, we are talking about unit 4, that is state local relations, and unit 5, that is state autonomy. In our previous lecture, we completed the unit 4 till the 73rd Amendment Act. In today's lecture, we will be moving forward with the 74th Amendment Act onwards. So let's start with unit 4, that is state local relations. So the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. From here we will start our lecture today. In the previous session we completed till 73rd Amendment Act, and today we are going to learn about the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, that is 1992, and urban governments. So the 74th Amendment Act aims to give constitutional status to the urban local governments, that is the municipalities. So it is similar to the rural local governments given by the 73rd Amendment Act. So as we have learned that the 73rd Amendment Act was about the rural governments, rural local governments. This 74th Amendment is about the urban local governments. This act, the 74th Amendment Act, was passed by the Parliament in the year 1992. This act inserted a new part, that is 9A, to our constitution. It consists of provisions relating to municipalities from Article 243P to 243ZZ. They define the powers and functions of the municipalities. So, because it is about the urban governments, the urban local government, so it talks about and it defines the powers and functions of the municipalities that is there in a city or in a town. So the Act provides a common framework for the structure and mandate of urban local bodies. The Government of India notified June 1st, 1993 as the date from which the 74th Amendment Act came into force. So this date is very important because from this date onwards, the 74th Amendment Act was enforced. It came into force and the date is the June 1st, 1993. This act provides three types of municipalities. This is very important to understand because these are the three types of municipalities that is there in our cities. So the first is the Nagar Panchayat for a transitional area. By transitional area here, they mean the area in transition from rural to urban. So the places which are converting from rural to urban, they are moving towards urbanism. At that point, it is the Nagar Panchayat who is taking care of all the things over there. The next is Municipal Council for a smaller urban area, and then Municipal Corporation for a larger urban area like cities of like Delhi and etc. So the members of municipalities are elected directly by the people of municipal area. So whoever is there contesting the election of the municipality, so they can be directly elected by the people living in that municipal area. So for this purpose, each municipal area is divided into territorial constituencies to six constituencies known as wards. So this is very important because the constituencies here is known as wards, which are divided. The municipal area is divided into these wards. In smaller municipalities, the average population per ward ranges from 1500 to 6000 people. So, how can we define the municipality as a smaller or a bigger one? By its population. So, here in smaller municipalities, the population average is around 1500 to 6000 people. In larger cities, on the other hand, the average ward population may be from 30,000 to 2 lakh people. The state legislature has the authority to specify the procedure for the election of the chairpersons of the municipality. So it is the state legislature who has the authority about the procedure for the election of the chairperson of municipalities. Moving forward, this act provides reservation. Which act? It is the 74th Amendment Act. provides reservations for SCs, STs, and women at all levels of the municipal bodies. So, this provides the marginalized section of our society to come forward. The Lok Sabha member, MPs, and MLAs of state representing constituencies that comprise wholly or partly the municipal area concerned are the voting members in this municipality. So, the state legislature is empowered to specify the procedure of election of the chairpersons of municipalities that we already learned in our previous slide. So, the term of a municipal body is about 5 years, and the state election commission conducts its elections. So, it is the state election commission who takes the charge to conduct elections of the municipal wards. And in case of dissolution of municipality, earlier than its tenure, fresh elections must be conducted within 6 months from its dissolution. So, if the municipality is dissolved earlier than its tenure, the tenure is about 5 years, and if it dissolves before completing 5 years, fresh elections must be conducted within the 6 months from its dissolution. So, this is the procedure talks about, and however, the municipality reconstituted after premature dissolution does not have a tenure of 5 years. So it is not like that if there is a dissolution of the municipality and you are electing you are having a fresh elections and it will continue again for a new 5 year tenure. It doesn't happen. The new 5 year tenure is not there, and if it is premature dissolution, it does not have a tenure of 5 years. So this is something which should be noted down. This newly elected or the fresh elections resulted a party to come, and it remains in office only for the remainder of the tenure of the previous municipality. That means if suppose after 3.5 years the municipality is dissolved, then the if there is a fresh elections and a new government is coming there, or a new municipality is coming to rule, at that point of time they are not going to have a 5 year tenure, but the remaining 1.5 years will be there with them. So 3.5 years in the previous one and 1.5 for the newly fresh elected people. So there is one exception. It shall not be necessary to hold elections for constituting a new municipal council if the remainder period is less than 6 months. Suppose if the government or the municipality already existed till 4.5 years and only 6 months are left, then there is no need to conduct or hold elections freshly. So this is one of the exceptions. Now let's talk about the devolution of powers and functions to urban local bodies. What are the functions they are playing? It is very important to understand. So the urban local governments are not entirely free from governmental control. So whether they are performing at a local level, but it is not entirely free from governmental control. The urban local governments work within limits prescribed by the State Municipal Act, which creates and governs them. So, the source of municipality is the State Municipal Act, and it is the one who uh, limits their work, or it uh, the urban local governments see or conduct themselves according to the State Municipal Act. Article 243W of the Indian Constitution deals with the powers and functions of municipalities and the state legislature. It bestows the municipalities with powers and responsibilities that are necessary for them to function as local government. So, powers, authority, and responsibilities of the municipalities are specified in the 12th schedule of the Constitution. The following 18 subject matters fall under the jurisdiction of municipalities with effect from June 1st, 1993. So, whatever is their powers, their authority, and what is their responsibilities of the municipality are all specified in the 12th schedule of the Constitution, and there are 18 subject matters which comes under it, and they have a jurisdiction over those subject matters, which we will be talking about in our next slides. These subject matters came into effect from June 1st, 1993. So let's talk about all the 18 subject matters which are there under the jurisdiction of municipality. The first one is the urban planning, including town planning. Second is regulation of land use and construction of buildings. Then comes the planning for economic and social development. So, this municipality has a wide range of work to do, and when we will be moving forward to see all the 18 subject matters, we will understand that how the municipalities are given the functions or given the work to not only look into the administrative perspective or administrative matters of a municipality, but also the economic, social developments, and industrial and domestic work. So it is a wide range of matters that comes under municipalities jurisdiction. The fourth comes the roads and bridges. Constructing roads and bridges also comes under the municipality, and not only that, the water supply for domestic, industrial, and commercial purposes also there in the list, along with public health, sanitation conservancy, and solid waste management. This is something which is very important to run a municipal area or a municipal ward properly. Fire services also comes under it, along with urban forestry, protection of the environment, and promotion of ecological aspects. Safeguarding the interest of the weaker section of society, including the handicapped and mentally retarded persons, also comes under the municipality's job or functions, because it is the municipality who takes care of the weaker section of the society. And with this, like handicaps or mentally retarded, for handicaps it is the duty of the municipality to have ramps in the public spaces, so that they can have easy access to all the public resources like any other human being. So it also have a work of slum improvement and upgradation. The municipality has also a function to alleviate the urban poverty. This is very important because it is one of the major concern of our country to alleviate the urban poverty, and also provisions of urban amenities and facilities such as parks, gardens, playgrounds. That these things are very important for the recreational activities of human beings, and thus it is the duty of the municipality to make provisions for these urban amenities. It also promotes the culture, education, and aesthetic aspects. Along with it, also have a job to look into the matters like burials, burial grounds, cremations, cremation grounds, and electric crematoriums. This all comes under the functions of the municipality. Cattle pounds prevention of cruelty to animals is also very important, which the municipal wards look around or look into the matter. Vital statistics, including registration of births and deaths, also a job or a very important task given to the municipal wards or municipality. Public amenities like street lighting, parking lots, bus stops, and public convenience, regulation of slaughterhouses and tanneries. All these things is a function or is a task given to the municipality, and it is all written on in the 12th schedule of the Constitution of India. Now, let's move forward to the district planning committees. Article 243ZD mandates the formation of district planning committees to consolidate the plans prepared by both rural and urban local bodies. So, these district planning committees has a plan for both urban and rural local bodies. The state legislature makes provisions for the composition of such a committee. So, not less than four-fifths of the member must be elected from amongst themselves by the elected members of the district panchayat and municipalities in the district. Its primary purpose is to consolidate the plans prepared by panchayats and municipalities in the district and prepare a draft development plan for the district. So, what is the work this district planning committee do? It consolidates the plan which is prepared by the panchayat and municipalities based on the ground level researches and the needs that the people have at a lower level, and they are the concern of the people is communicated to the panchayat and municipalities, and they form a draft, they form a plan, and this district planning committee drafts a development plan for that particular district. It is then forwarded to the state government. So there is a chain of how the things have been done. There is a pyramid, or a, you can say, a chain through which the work is being done. So firstly the people come to the panchayat, they share their concerns, their needs, and then the panchayats prepare a plan and they send it to the district planning committees. They prepare a draft development plan and then it moves forward to the state government. Similarly, every metropolitan area shall have a metropolitan planning committee to prepare a draft development plan. So, the work is done like that in a chain system. Now let's come to the functioning of local bodies. The state government exercises control over the local bodies. So, local bodies are not at all entirely free on their own works, but it is controlled by the state government. The government can review, modify, or reject the proposal of the local body. So, the power with the state government, like they have a power to review the plan that local bodies have sent to them, review, they can modify, they can also reject it. The state government can remove the members of the local bodies under certain circumstances through prescribed procedures. So the state government has the power to remove the members of the local body also. So they conduct a periodic inspection so that they can have a look on how the works are being done at the local bodies. So the state governments executes the no confidence motions passed by the local bodies and dissolve these bodies in certain circumstances within the act's provision. So there is also a provision where the state governments can dissolve these local bodies. The function of the panchayat is to prepare annual plans for the area. So, what is the work of the panchayat? The panchayat do prepare a plan which is done annually. So, the Gram Sabha functions as a deliberative and a decision-making body. The panchayat are also be vested with the power to levy and collect taxes. It also passes an annual budget and discusses the major problems that arises in the village from time to time. So, it is also responsible for identifying or selecting persons as beneficiaries for various central and state poverty alleviation and other programs. So, it is up to the panchayat to identify or select a person for a particular benefit scheme. Apart from that, it is an aspect of direct democracy at the lowest level of governance. So, all social groups, including the marginalized sections, can participate in the decision making process in the Gram Sabha meeting. So, there is a provision by all, like all the citizens of India can be a part of these Gram Sabha meetings, and they can be a part and have their they can share their thoughts for making or decision making process. So the active functioning of the Gram Sabha would ensure a transparent administration and participatory democracy. So this is very important because the more the Gram Sabha is active, the more there is transparency in the administration work, and there will be more people who will be participating in these democratic processes. In the majority of villages, Gram Sabha meetings has reduced to a mere formality. So there are also drawbacks that India is facing with these local bodies. So there are many Gram Sabhas, or there are many grams or villages where these Gram Sabha meetings are reduced over time, and they are just the formal meetings, and the the energy or the enthusiasm for the people to give inputs to the government or the Gram Sabha also reduced. So, in several villages, the dominant communities do not let the SCs, STs, or OBCs communities elected to the panchayat perform their duties independently. So, what happens at the ground level is that there are many dominating communities who are resisting the SCs, STs, and OBCs, the marginalized section of the society, and they resist them to be elected to the panchayat and perform their duties independently. So also there is another drawback is that in several instances, the husband or other family members of women panchayat heads act as de facto leaders and decision makings in the panchayati raj institutions. So what happened is, although a women candidate wins the election of panchayat, but the decision is taken by the men of the family or the husband or the head of the family, who is a man. So this is what is happening in our country at grassroots levels, where the women is only a panchayat leader or a member just by the sake of name. Otherwise all the works and all the decisions are not taken by the women but by their husbands or other male members of the family. Though the village panchayat level elections were conducted on a partyless and non-political party symbol basis, the major political parties either field their candidates as apolitical or campaign for independent candidates. So these are the drawbacks that these local bodies are facing. Political parties and their leaders consider winning these local bodies crucial in MP MLA general elections. So these local bodies are also an important aspect for winning the national general elections and also the state elections. So political parties and their leaders considered winning these local bodies crucial in MP MLA general elections. So the parties use candidates who win local body election with their support to consolidate their vote bank. So what political parties is doing, whoever is winning in the local body elections and before elections and after election, they are political parties are providing their support to that candidate, and once the candidate wins the election, he or she is required to support to consolidate the political party's vote bank over that area. So the ordinary people depend on these local leaders to benefit from the welfare scheme of the center and the state. So the party that controls the local bodies identify the people who support them and accommodate them while identifying beneficiaries for various welfare and development schemes. So what happens is, the party who are controlling the local bodies, they just identify the people who are accommodating and who are supporting them in their purpose, and when they share the beneficiaries of the central government or the welfare and development schemes, they particularly give that benefits to the person who are supporting them. So this is one of the major drawback that Indian local body government is facing. Also the local leaders who hold some position or office of the local bodies with solid connections with people at grassroots level use their position to get tickets to contest state assembly or Lok Sabha elections. So what is being done is that people who have a very strong base in a local area, they use their position after winning the election, they use their position to get tickets to contest the state assembly or the Lok Sabha election. So this local body government and winning in these elections is becoming a very important thing for people or the leaders over that area. The local bodies do not have sufficient funds for spending on programs and schemes. So the panchayat are mainly dependent on the grants from state and union governments. So because these local bodies doesn't have very sufficient funds, so that these panchayats are dependent upon the state and the union governments. A significant portion of grants received from the state and union governments are scheme specific. So the local revenue collection is very meager and negligible. So whatever collection rights are given to the panchayat, the revenue collection is very meager and negligible. Even the state governments have lost their majority revenue resources and depending on the union government to get their share of revenue after the introduction of goods and service tax. So after the implementation and introduction of GST, even the state governments are also lost their majority revenue resources and they are dependent upon the union government to get that share. The state governments cannot devolve funds to local bodies because of the tight fiscal position and the financial dependence and grossly inadequate resources considerably compress the local bodies to function as units of self-government. So with this, we are we completed the unit 4, the state local bodies, and now with unit 5 we are moving forward to understand what is state autonomy. This chapter is very important from exam point of view also, and for the subject specific topic which are very important to understand the state politics of India. So, to introduce this unit, state autonomy, we should know that the relation between different levels of governing units, the center and states, is known as the division of powers. So, in our previous lectures or previous presentations, also, we have seen that this division of power is known as federalism. So, such arrangement is different from the relations among three organs of the nation state, that is, executive, judiciary, and legislature, which is known as separation of powers. So, division of powers between center and states is different from separation of powers between the three organs of the government, that is, the executive, judiciary, and legislature. So, in the Constitution of India, the division of powers between the center and state is defined in the three lists, that is, union list, state list, and concurrent list. And in our previous lectures, we have learned about these lists, which have many subjects under them, and the subjects which are there in the union list. So, union government have authority to work on those subjects only. So, the constitution scheme of division of power between the center and states provides certain autonomy to the federal units. State autonomy means the authority and power of a state as a member of the Union of India to decide and execute independently certain functions as outlined by the Constitution. So, this is what state autonomy means. It implies that there is non-interference from the central government in the day-to-day affairs of the state. So autonomy means some kind of freedom, some kind of independence, and state autonomy means that being a state has some certain functions that is outlined by the constitution, and they can decide upon those certain subjects with very less interference by the Union of India. All the major decisions are taken according to powers conferred to the states in the 7th schedule of India. So now let's talk about the autonomy in Indian federalism. So uneven and imbalanced development of different states and sub-regions within a state is a fundamental problem in Indian federalism. So though there is federalism, there is a division of power between center and states, but there is some unevenness or imbalances of development that occurs in different states. Not all states are developing equally. There is a disbalance, and there is many unevenness that occurs over the time, and the states are not developing at same level, and within that is a fundamental problem in the Indian federalism. So the unevenness in the levels of development has often generated a consciousness in the states, especially those less developed. So when you know that you are not developing as like as the other state, so it generates a consciousness among the states that we are lacking somewhere, we are we are behind some states, and that development of consciousness is very important, and it generally generates among those who are less developed, because the other states who are developing good, they have concentration on their development, and it is the less developed states who feel there is a who understands that there is something uneven, something imbalances is happening for which they are not at par with other states. So they believe that their region remains backwards due to the discrimination by the center. So these less developed states believe that it is because of the center's activities, center's discrimination towards them, that their region remains backwards and other regions are flourishing. So, in several instances, political leaders, activists, and civil society organizations in these states suggest the state or region can develop if they are given autonomy to govern themselves. So these states who are lagging behind, who remain backwards, they feel that if they are given autonomy, they can perform better, and they can be more developed like the other states, because according to them there is a discrimination done by the center among the states. So this gave a rise to the demand for autonomy, and it is seen as an attempt to gain control over the resources and development process. So because this less developed states feel that it is the center which is discriminating while distributing the resources and development process, so they feel that if they get the autonomy, they can they can gain control over the resources and development processes, which is very necessary for their own growth. So, in order to get autonomy, some of these states demand spatial status. So, this is important to understand that these autonomy issues giving a special, they wanted a special status, and these special category status means providing certain disadvantaged states with preferential treatment in central assistance and tax exemptions. So, what are these states wanting? These less developed states who get a sense of autonomy, they want a special category status, so that because of their disadvantage, they should be given preferential treatment by the central government, and it will help them to grow better and keep at level with the other states. So it also includes establishing special development authority boards to that region, reservation to the locals in jobs, establishing more educational institutions, health infrastructure like hospitals, medical colleges, incentives to industries, etc. So, in a broader sense, autonomy demands are also associated with civil rights, democratic liberty movements, democratic upsurge, and devolution of power, which we'll be learning in our upcoming slides. Now, let's talk about the demand for autonomy in the Indian states. So, this part is very important in this subject and in this course, because this is a very important landmarks that India, or the problems that India is facing since independence, and we will be learning about all those experiences that India faces at that point of time and since independence. So, before the fourth general elections in 1967, the center state relations were harmonious with the dominance of the Congress party. So, after independence, in the post independence period, till the fourth general election that conducted in the 1967, the center state relations were very cordial, very harmonious, and there were not that much resistance to the Congress party's dominance over the center and the many of the states. These general elections were a turning point in the Indian political process, and especially in the federal election. So, the election, the fourth general election of 1967, turned out to be a turning point in the Indian political process. So, the Congress party lost the elections in the 9 states, which is a very big number at that point of time, because apart from 3 or 4 states, Congress was everywhere. So, after losing 9 states back to back is a very big jolt that Congress party got, and party's majority in Lok Sabha was also considerably reduced in that fourth general elections. So this development gave a stimulus to the autonomy demands, with regional parties coming to power in different states. So with this election 1967, we can see the rise of the regional parties that were coming from various states. So the regional parties felt that the existing constitutional federal scheme neither respected the feelings of the states nor appreciated the needs and problems of the states. So according to the regional parties, they felt that the existing constitutional federal scheme are not providing good assistance or not providing any development to them, and they are being not heard properly. Their concerns are not being addressed. Hence, the maximum autonomy of the state is demanded for the growth and development of the states. So, what these states were demanding, that please give us autonomy, give us independence, and then we will be growing and developing on our own self. So let's move forward with the Dravida Munnetra Kazakam, that is DMK in short, Rajamannar Committee. We will be learning that how this is very important committee, and this is very important issue that raised by Dravida Munnetra Kazakam. So the regional parties raised the issue of autonomy and demanded more powers and fiscal resources. So the DMK, Dravida Munnetra Kazakam party in Tamil Nadu, combining the Tamil linguistic and cultural nationalism, built a strong movement for autonomy. So why this is important? Because this Dravida Munnetra Kazakam party, DMK party, uh, they had a very strong movement for autonomy. In the early 1960s, this DMK campaigned for a separate independent sovereign state of Tamil Nadu. They wanted to be separated from the Indian territory and establish their own area. They wanted autonomy from Indian center or the state. So later, the demand was extended to propose a separate Dravid Nadu with Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala, and Karnataka. So they wanted a separate Dravid Nadu for themselves, and this was a question that was posed towards the Indian government. It was seen as a severe threat to the nation's integrity by the center. The center says that if people get separated like this, then it is a very threat to the India's integrity. So, with the increasing separatist tendencies in the country during the 1960s, the Union government initiated the 16th Constitutional Amendment for curbing separatist tendencies. So, in this decade, we can see a rise of these regional parties and movements who were demanding autonomy from the Indian government. So, this 16th Constitutional Amendment Bill, which became an act, was known as the Anti Secession Bill to prevent separatist and secessionist tendencies and preserve India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. So, in consequence of this amendment, the Dravida Munnetra Kazakam also gradually softened its stand and dropped the demand for sovereign Dravida. So, after a long struggle, this Dravida Munnetra Kazakam party, they just dropped the demand for sovereign Dravida that they were wanting. And however, time and again, Dravida Munnetra Kazakam demanded greater autonomy of states. So, it is not like that the issue just solved, but from time and again it emerges, and they demand a greater autonomy of states. In the year 1969, the government of Tamil Nadu, led by the DMK party, appointed a three-member committee under the chairmanship of PV Rajamannar. So, after coming to power in 1969, the government of Tamil Nadu appointed a three-member committee uh, under the leadership or the chairmanship of PV Rajamannar. That is why this is known as Rajamannar Committee. And the aim was to study the center-state relations and suggest constitutional amendments to secure greater autonomy to the states. So the demand was already always there, and they also constituted this committee to find out ways, constitutional ways through which they can secure a greater autonomy to the states. So the Rajamannar committee made some recommendations such as removing Article 356, dissolution of the Planning Commission, and making Finance Commission a permanent body, transferring some subjects to the state list from union list and concurrent list, and appointing high power committee for redistribution of the subjects in the three lists. So these were the some demands that Rajamannar committee. Now let's move forward to Akali Dal, the Anandpur Sahib resolution. We were talking about Tamil Nadu in our previous slide. Now we will move on to Punjab and see what is happening there. So Shiromani Akali Dal, also known as Akali Dal, is a regional party in Punjab with a strong base among the Sikhs in Punjab. So Master Tara Singh, a Sikh political and religious leader, was instrumental in organizing the Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee. Under the leadership of Sant Fateh Singh, several movements took place for Punjab Suba, a separate state from for Punjabi speakers in India. So, what was their demand? Their demand was a separate Punjabi Suba or a separate state for the Punjabi speakers from India. So he started a fast unto death for the demand of Punjab Suba, and the central government accepted the demand for Suba. However, this did not satisfy all the Sikhs. The Shiromani Akali Dal passed a resolution for greater autonomy to states in the Batala Conference in the year 1968. Akali Dal adopted a resolution containing both religious and political demands at a meeting held at Anandpur Sahib, popularly known as the Anandpur Sahib Resolution. Anandpur Sahib Resolution demanded that the centre's power be restricted only to the defense, foreign affairs, communications, currency, etc., and entire other powers should be vested in the states. So, what this Anandpur Sahib was asking or recommending, they wanted very limited interference from the state, and they said that the center's power should be restricted to only defense, foreign affairs, communication, currency, etc., and the remaining rest of the power should be vested in the states. Akalida leader Gurnam Singh moved this resolution, and when he became the chief minister of Punjab, he invited DMK, Dravida Munitra Kazakam leader Karunanidhi to Ludhiana to discuss autonomy to states. This duo is considered to lead the way in seeking greater autonomy of states because both of their aim was same. Both of the leaders wanted for a greater autonomy from the center. So their motive was all same. Now let's move forward to the West Bengal Memorandum. The left front government in West Bengal had adopted a memorandum in 1977 seeking a rearrangement of center state relations and submitted it to the center for consideration. So, this memorandum was adopted in the year 1977 and it wanted a rearrangement in the center state relations. This memorandum pointed out how the center had made encroachments into powers of state, the autonomy of states was gradually eroded. So this memorandum says that or discusses that how the power of center is increasing too much and how they are curbing the powers of the state, and this resulted in the erosion of the autonomy of the states. So, the West Bengal Memorandum stated that Article 356 of the Constitution is the anti federal instrument for undermining the federal system and the autonomy of the states. Therefore, Article 356 and 357, which gives President the power to dissolve a state government or its legislative assembly, should be deleted. So, what this memorandum wanted, they wanted the president's power to dissolve state government, or we can say the implementing or incorporating the governor's rule should be limited or should be deleted rather from the constitution, and therefore constitution should be amended to include the word federal, because in the starting classes I already discussed that how there is no word mentioned in our constitution as federal and it is written as India as a union of states. So this memorandum wanted amendment in the constitution so that there should be inclusion of the word federal in the description of the Republic of India. Likewise, the word union in the constitution should be replaced by the word federal. So they wanted a replacement of the words used in our constitution. Now let's talk about the Telugu Desam Party (TDP) and the Vijayawada conflict. The dominance of the Congress Party in the political history of Andhra Pradesh continued uninterrupted for 3 decades till it was upset by the Telugu Desam Party in the 1983 elections. So since independence, here we can see that how Congress Party ruled Andhra Pradesh for a long decade. For like 3 decades, three back-to-back decades was ruled by the Congress Party in Andhra Pradesh, and it was challenged by Telugu Desam Party in the 1983 elections. The TDP succeeded in ending the Congress hegemony in Andhra Pradesh within a short time. So it was in a very short time that TDP replaced and overthrew the Congress hegemony. And this TDP, the Telugu Desam Party, was founded on 29th of March 1982 by N.T. Ramarao, who was a very famous film star. The Telugu Desam Party has stressed the need for greater financial decentralization and state autonomy by transferring more powers to states. They were also wanting more powers, more autonomy for the states, and the demand was the Telugu Desam Party's demand was to have a greater financial decentralization. It also demanded the abolition of the post of the governor. So the governor's post is very complicated and very controversial also, and that's why this Telugu Desam Party wanted an abolition to post of the governor. Now let's move towards the National Conference or Srinagar Conference. In October 1983, around 50 leaders from 17 political parties met in Srinagar conclave hosted by Farooq Abdullah, the then Chief Minister of the Jammu and Kashmir state. So in 1983 there was a conclave of many political parties hosted by Farooq Abdullah, and the Srinagar conclave brought together parties like Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, Telugu Desam Party, Akali Dal, the Republican Party of India, the Assam Jatiyawadi Dal, and National Conference and the Left Party. So this conclave brought all the parties having autonomy demands come together. All the parties present were united by the cause of federalism and more autonomy to the states. So, the common link between all the parties who attended this conclave was that all of them wanted federalism to be there and more autonomy for their states. Now let's move forward to the Naga National Council and Mizo National Front. So during the 1950s and the early 1960s, the Nagas and Mizos demanding autonomy for their reasons. So these tribal groups, Nagas and Mizos, they demanded autonomy for their regions. Naga National Council strongly advocated unlimited autonomy for Naga Hills. So the Naga National Council's demand was to have unlimited autonomy for the Naga Hills. Under the leadership of A.Z. Fizo, it demanded complete independence, stating that Nagas always as distinct from the rest of Indian ethically and culturally. So, according to A.Z. Fizo, they say that the Nagas are ethnically and culturally very different from India and Indian people, and since there is a distinction, there is differences, so they wanted complete independence from Indian hands. So the Mizo National Front, like Naga National Council, demanded the creation of an independent state of Mizoram under the leadership of Lal Dena. So there was also same demands coming from Mizo National Front, like the Naga National Council, and they demanded for a creation of an independent state of Mizoram under the leadership of Lal Dena. So for this purpose, Mizo National Front recruited young people and trained them in military operations. Now, let's talk about the demand for political autonomy. So, in the previous slides, we talked about several states who were demanding autonomy. Now, we will see what is political autonomy and what is there to be demanded. So, the politics of regions and the emergence of regional parties as a reaction to the hegemony of the Congress Party have shaped autonomy demands in India after independence. So, since there was a hegemony of the Congress Party, and to see or to give a reaction to the hegemony of the Congress Party or the dominance of the Congress Party, there was an emergence of regional parties in the 1960s decade. And these regional parties gave shape to autonomy demands in India after independence. The relative differences of cultural, economic, social, political circumstances in regions caused differential power relations with each other and the center. There was an emergence of working class politics, the rise of socially marginalized groups in the mainstream politics. Peasant political class have led to various demands for political autonomy of states and regions. So there were many demands, many movements were growing at that point of time, and they were coming from the marginalized section of the society or the working class people or the peasant people. So this is a new thing that was happening in India at that point of time since independence. A significant question in autonomy demands is environmental governance and control over the natural resources. So this is also very important because there was a need to control the natural resources, and these demands were coming from here, and these demands have been accommodated through instruments of asymmetrical federalism by creating new states and unique acts such as Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act, also known as PESA 1996. So these demands which were coming, the political demands which were coming from the states, they were accommodated through the instruments of asymmetrical federalism. A significant factor responsible for the demand of autonomy leading to the demand of separate states has been the historical disparity in the development of regions and the states. So there was a significant factor responsible for the demand of autonomy leading to the demand of separate states. So these demand for autonomy leads towards the demand for the separate state, and these were some problems that India was experiencing at that point of time. And some backward states are known as Bimaru states, refers to the poor economic conditions within those states from the first letters of Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. So Bimaru states wanted that there should be more equality in the resources to be shared by the center, and they were very economically weak. They were very poor having a poor economic conditions, which because of that they were known as Bimaru states because they were very backward. So these were the things that were happening at the states, and there was a demand for political autonomy. Let's move forward to the plural societies and autonomy question. So due to cultural linguistic diversity in larger states, many organized groups emerged having claims and counterclaims for effective administration through accommodation of interest. So India is a country where there is a huge diversity culturally, according to language, also ethnically. So there were many groups that emerged and claims and counterclaims for effective administration through accommodation of their own interests. So to accommodate its population cultural and ethnic aspirations, the state resorts to readjusting the boundaries of the states, provinces, following the regional cultural construction of the people and devolving some autonomy to an authority instituted over that province. So in India, it is not possible for the central government or the parliament to ignore the regional aspirations due to the institutional as well as electoral factors. So it is not like that India can ignore these regional aspirations because it is not feasible for India on electoral factors also. So the broadening of democracy and the democratic upsurge of classes or recognition as political entities has historically remained in mainstream politics. So this is all going through, India was all going through all these changes. So now let's talk about the ethnicity and autonomy question. The tribal groups in India are among significant ethnic groups sharing common characteristics like culture, customs, language, regions, economic interests, etc. So the root of the autonomy question among tribal regions go back to the pre-independence history of India. So it is not like that it is after the post-independence period or the after the independence time that tribals are wanting autonomy. No, it the autonomy question existed from the pre-independence history also. So it is not a new question that came towards the ruling government. Post independence, the autonomy of these regions has become an issue of great deliberation within the asymmetrical federal model. So, the Schedule 6 of the Indian Constitution lays down provisions concerning the autonomy of tribal areas in the northeastern states. Nevertheless, there are constant conflicts due to competition between ethnic groups regarding the demand for autonomy. Now let's talk about the language and autonomy. The debate for organizing states based on language was raised in the Constituent Assembly. However, due to the bitter experience of India's partition on a religious basis, The linguistic basis of state reorganization was perceived as a potential threat to the unity and integrity of the nation. So, what happened is India experienced the brutal partition of its country because of the conflict in religious basis, and that is the reason why the linguistic basis for state reorganization was perceived as a potential threat again to the India's unity and integrity. So, however, the demands were raised in some areas. So, the demands were rising, but it was very difficult for India to accommodate these demands. The demand for linguistic states was based on a long standing interaction between the Congress leaders and the regional political leaders. As a result, demand for a Telugu state arose and Andhra Pradesh was created on 1st October 1953. So, the first state on the basis of language ever created in India was the Andhra Pradesh, where there was a demand for a Telugu state that came towards the Indian center, and the demand was there. Following the fast unto death by Putti Sriramalu. Based on a similar understanding of religious leaders, many other linguistic provincial states demands arose. So it is not like that it the demand remained till Andhra Pradesh, but it also ignited many other states for their demand. And State Reorganization Commission was instituted in the year 1953 to look into this matter. So there were many recommendations that this State Reorganization Commission gave, and these based on these recommendations of the commission to organize states on a linguistic basis in the southern India. The State Reorganization Act 1956 was passed by the Parliament, and in the post independence years, the levels of autonomy to its constituent states have been unequal. So, there were demands, and in the post independent years, also the level of autonomy was also unequal, and that is why the problems came rising. So, states were vested with more autonomy than the union territories. We should also remember that states have more autonomy than the union territories, and creating union territories became an effective device in the northeastern region to resolve demands for autonomy. So, this the northeastern regions were given the status of union territories, and why this happened and why this is being done, because to resolve the demands of autonomy that was coming from the northeastern regions. So, language become a tool of dominance if the political system is overwhelmed by a particular linguistic group. Being an integral part of culture may lead to a perceived loss of control by other linguistic groups. So, the fear of these northeastern states and many other states was that because of diversity of languages, their own linguistic groups or their own culture can be diluted. It leads, that is why that fear leads to the demand for recognition and desire for autonomy in a linguistic region. So to save their identity, save their autonomy, they wanted recognition from the government. It has also been true in the northeastern states. Various social, geopolitical, and historical factors influences such demands. In northeastern states, it is not only just language, but various. There were many social, geopolitical, and historical factors that were influencing their demands. Autonomy movements in the hills of Northeast led to the formation of the seven states gradually. So these states have a diverse scheduled tribe population, and with district council are vested with autonomy. So with this, I end today's lecture. In next class, we will continue with these topics. Thank you.